So in this project, we are going to do with Little Bling Canvas a set of 2 pumpkins. I want to show you how easy and simple can be. I always like to have my watercolor paper taped. Having the borders taped make it not only is easier to work with, so the paper won't be moving around, but also gives a very elegant and nice frame. I really love working with that taping around. So I'm using masking tape, something that is simple and easy to peel off without taking any paper away. I'm getting a simple drawing pencil, and I'm just gonna very lightly sketch. So I'm gonna have one pumpkin over here. I'm gonna get a tall one and maybe another one that comes on the side that is a different type of pumpkin, shaped a little bit differently. I'm gonna find where the stem is gonna come from. So I have this hole over here, the hole is gonna be over here. Everything else that is gonna be my environment, my background, I'm gonna create with just watercolor. So I'm gonna bring a line from that spot in the middle. I'm gonna bring a line up and down. Then from same spot close by, I'm gonna go that and follow that pattern I have. That bottom line is not gonna go below the other line. So it shows that kind of a shape in 3D. And then on this one, I'm still gonna bring a slightly curved on top and straight line around like this. So I round up the other end. This one is just gonna start, this is looking right in front of us. So it's gonna start cutting right here. Then we're gonna do the same thing on the other side, just like we did. It comes kind of straight and it meets right there. And actually this pumpkin is gonna be right in front of it, so you don't have to worry too much about that bottom part over here. Maybe you can just stop right there. From here, I'm gonna go up again and around. I'm gonna go up on this side and follow on that side. So I can even start erasing, getting these lines out of here, cleaning up my space, and then I can make the stem go up and maybe thinner a little bit as it gets here. And then I can clean up space with the eraser later. So now for this one, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start from that, go up a little bit and down. It's about the same process. Go a little bit and down, and then when I get down, I round up the bottom a little bit. And I go over here. This one, each part is gonna be a little bit skinnier than this one. Slightly skinnier, making like this, pulling, so it shows that it's going around. It's not a flat object. It goes up and then down like this. This again up and around like this. And we can make adjustments as we're getting to the shape we want. And then this circle where there's it's gonna come. You can make it a little bit different shape, make it thicker if you want, and then you can adjust. Even here can show a little bit. So now we can get your eraser, clean up some spaces. I like to draw very lightly, very soft touch with my pencil on the paper, but because I'm demonstrating on a video, sometimes can be harder for you to see. For people to see on a video. Everything else that I'm gonna work is gonna be only by applying the watercolor around it. So I'm not gonna set anything on my environment right now. I'm just kind of giving that little space. So here we go. I have a set of brushes over here. I'm gonna start with a medium-sized brush. I have a little rag, or you can use paper towels. So I'm gonna start with this orange, mix the water in the watercolor, make sure that it's very saturated. I'm gonna start with on the top, and I think it's a little bit too dark, so I'm just gonna go for water, rinse my brush pretty quickly, and just with water without touching, I can make it lighter and spread that paint around it. So that's going to give me the first base color I want for my first pumpkin. I may do another color for the other pumpkin. If it starts to get too dry, just wet your brush a little bit, and then you keep working on painting. Again, this is just the base color we're going to use. We're going to lighten up some more, and we're going to make it dark in some other spaces. Okay, so I'm just using that first layer. What I'm going to do next, I'm just going to rinse my brush. I'm going to gently dry it. There are some parts at the top, they're going to be a little bit lighter. So just by applying my brush with a tiny little bit of water, I can drag it here and do a little bit more. I can start showing some highlights at some of the edges and some of the top of where the light is going to hit the pumpkin. Without bringing any color to it, I can start bringing some marks that are going to be a little bit lighter. And then I can go with maybe a brown that is a little bit more reddish. And the bottom is going to be slightly darker. So I'm just going to bring some shading on the side of the pumpkin up. Again, where the line is, so it makes kind of a dent. I'm going to make it a little bit darker, go back to that same brown that is more reddish brown. And all around here is going to be like this. So I'm just going to work on that. Bottom over here, I'm going to do the same and then bring it up. So we're just building depth, creating a more 3D shape form over here. I like to use more like a dry brush kind of effect, but it's up to you. So right here at the top where the little knot, the little stem is actually appearing, it's going to get a little bit darker, and close to where the other pumpkin is, it makes some kind of a shadow over there. So I'm going to make it a little bit darker as well around here. I'm using the same shade, that same orange, not orange, the red brown, and just have fun with it. Just kind of let loose a little bit. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a darker brown. Maybe I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. So this is kind of it will give me a little bit more control. So I'm going to go for the darker brown, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to work on the stem. And the way I use the brush, the little strokes I'm applying, it's going to start giving that a little bit of texture, showing some marks. I can have a little marks here that are going to get a little bit darker. If you want to do ones that actually go around like this, almost like wrapping around, that would be nice. And then around like here, I'll outline. And then I'm going to outline where all these lines, the pencil lines that I had before, are going to go very gently. You don't have to have a continuous line, You can kind of break into lines like this. Again, I like to work in a more dry brush situation, not applying a lot of water to my brush. I'm just kind of playing with it a little bit. Very gently and softly touching with the tip of my brush. And as I get here, I'm going to start wetting my brush a little bit more and bringing a darker brown at the bottom again. If it gets too dark, you just need to use more water in your brush. Using my brush sideways may not be the best technique, but it's working over here. Just want to show kind of a very simple way that we can work on a pumpkin, make a nice composition. So I'm kind of happy with simple approach to it. I'm gonna work on the next one. I'm gonna do a little bit more, maybe do a light blue. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna apply a layer of that base color. And it's gonna be my light blue, bring in some water. I'm gonna do the same thing as I did with the orange on the first pumpkin. Applying here. Following the shape. And then I'm gonna go for maybe, let's see, a little bit of yellow. And then I can start applying some yellow on top. It may look, of course, it's gonna look a little bit green, but I don't wanna mix it too much. I'm just gonna bring that light and some of the reflection of the orange over here. Then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna find some spots that I want it to be a little bit lighter, following the same pattern, the same source of light on this other pumpkin. So just with a little bit of water, I'm gonna be dragging the paint down. I can dry my brush again and go back again. I'm just gonna bring in that, give me some of the highlights. Again, instead of doing this, if you just want to leave it blank, you just gently touch your brush before painting it all over. You can do that, but I like to show almost like an off-white. So I'm just going to be dragging this paint down a little bit. In some of the spaces over here. The next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a little tan. And I'm going to do some outlining. Just doing some outlining. You can use your another shade of brown. I want it to be a very light brown touch over here. So this tan with the blue kind of gives me that effect that I was looking for. I'm just pretty much being playful with it and just kind of experimenting. I'm gonna bring that up, making it darker. You can even use a little bit kind of a darker blue maybe. Let me see what that's gonna go. Yeah, that works. So you can start bringing a little bit of that darker blue on the sides, around it like this, on the little edges and bottom and edges like this. If it's too dark, you can always use your brush. You clean your brush, you use your brush with just water. And then on top here is gonna get a little bit more blue and maybe a darker blue, because the light is not hitting so much. Right where it gets closer to the center and closer to where the other pumpkin is. Because this drawing is really, it's small. I feel really good about using that same size brush, but it really depends on the size of the paper you're using. It depends on what you're trying to achieve. This is just a playful watercolor pumpkin, so just want to have a good time. And then I'm going to do the same brown for the stem. I'm going to outline it, find where the rounded one is, and just fill in. If you want to give that rounded effect, almost like there's this thing wrapping around, you can do that. So now that we have the two pumpkins over here, I'm just gonna kind of clear the space a little bit. I'm gonna get a medium-sized brush. I don't have a really huge space. I'm just gonna give kind of a light touch. Let me see, just find kind of any color. I'm gonna go for that darker green. I'm gonna apply a little bit, and then I'm just gonna use my brush and water to water down that paint very gently around that pumpkin. As it gets closer to, especially in between the pumpkins, I'm using the edge of my brush, going around. It's going to be slightly darker inside that space. You can go even with more paint on your brush, using the edge again, and then just wet your brush, spread that a little bit more. Yeah, just playing with that, making a little bit darker as in this part over here. And then I'm gonna go for maybe that other green, mixing some, but very lightly, almost kind of a whimsical space. There's really whatever color you want to use. Just coming over here, I'm gonna switch to a lighter green, just having a few different shades as I get over here, because then we're gonna start doing some shading very gently as well. Go around in here, around in here. This part I want to make sure that I go back and forth horizontally, so sideways like this. Not applying a lot of water because the paper was already wet. And right below here, I'm going to bring a little bit more of that darker green, and using just the edge of my brush, I'm going to do some shading. I'm going to bring some kind of a shadow over here where it's sitting, close to where it's touching the ground, the surface. Bring another line over here and just go horizontally, making some marks. It can be a path on grass as well. You can have some a little bit lighter on the back. Maybe I can even bring a little bit of glow to my background, just a tiny touch of glow to the top part of my paper as it blends well. The darker green or the other green we had already applied there. Maybe just now using water on my brush again, softened up the colors. And now what I'm going to do next, I'm just going to get my tiny little brush, gently wet, and I'm going to make some marks just like grass. I'm going to touch the paper and pull it. I may need to wet my brush a little bit more. It's getting too dry. I'm just going to make a few marks over here. I'm going to go close to where the pumpkins are, almost like around it a little bit. Just really gently, very softly touching the ground and then pulling these marks. And they don't have to have the same height. They can be in different shapes. I'm going to have a few now that I'm going to work with a little lighter green, or just maybe rinse your brush a little bit more so the color is going to be lighter. I'm going to go for that lighter green now, and where the same grass is, I'm just going to show different shades of the green. So we show some grass that is a little bit closer or far away from that point. It brings some depth and it's kind of fun. I'm going around like this. Some will go even a little bit higher, taller, around that one. Maybe I'm missing something over here. I have a few over here. Wet my brush a little bit more. Maybe I'll have some marks that will show in the distance. Just kind of an impression that some of the grass will continue. So just giving that impression of some of the grass in the background. And then what I'm going to do I'm gonna work on some, maybe some pinkish, like this magenta. Find a place. I'm gonna have some marks like this, sideways, just coming one side and the other, almost like a little V. You can have a few, they're a little bit darker and shorter. Maybe they coming in your direction. Few they're going to be behind, so they a little bit more, a little bit lighter. And then right in the middle, I'm going to get that darker green, very tip of the brush. I'm going to make a line that kind of breaks a little bit, and it comes here. Here you can have, and we can do the same thing, maybe get a little bit of purple and just coming outside the paper, the tape. I'll have another one, a little bit lighter and darker around. It gets kind of as skinny as it gets to the top. And just some lines, some showing over here, like this. It's really just kind of a playing around a little bit. I feel like it would be nice to outline with some brown some of these areas over here. So I'm just gonna kind of touch up on that. I feel like I was missing, especially on the bottom one, that one. So with the same brown we were using before, just with the tip of that brush, very gently and softly touching. Some of the lines are even going to be breaking. They're not going to be, just kind of have a few that break, show like this. So it gives that interesting effect. And then in between these layers, I'm just going to make some parts a little bit darker. And that's it. Just having a good time and relaxing, making it fun. Maybe I'm gonna bring a little bit darker around here. And I'm gonna go around a little bit here as I'm layering on top of the other color we gave already, that base. Kind of a silly, beautiful, relaxing watercolor process. Again, not a lot of techniques, don't worry too much, just have a good time, make a few lines, try with your colors, see how you feel. It's not a lot of wrongs. If you don't like it, just throw the paper away. Just enjoy it. One of the things that I love the most is trying new things, exploring, and just get out of my comfort zone and explore some things that I would like to learn more. See how that works on the paper, of the setup. Pay attention to colors when you go outside. Outside for a walk. Pay attention to the colors, pay attention to the shadows, pay attention to shapes and perspective. That really does help with your work. So I tell my students that is a new way of seeing the world, that you're going to start to see a whole new world. And I think that's beautiful. It changes your perception of things. It gives you a whole new reality, honestly. And I think it's just beautiful. With just a different set of eyes, you can see a completely different reality. So that's what art is for me, and that's what I try to always inspire my students to train their eyes to see it differently, to take chances, to enjoy the creation, the process. Don't be too caught up on how the final work is going to look like, and just really kind of have a good time, explore, try again, taking classes, I think it's a great way you can start learning some techniques so you can explore and express yourself better. But there is nothing that you cannot do. Just pencil, erasers, a few watercolors, if you just want to have a good time. So I'm just gonna sign my name, use that time purple. I usually just have my initials over here. So I hope you guys enjoyed that simple kind of a exploratory watercolor pumpkins. If you can still see some of the pencil lines, just wait it for you to dry and very gently erase some of the pencil lines, and just have fun with it, explore some other compositions, and I'll see you guys on our next lesson. Thank you.